a couple of linemen. I know the illness. Is that what's going around, or what?
Yeah, it seemed like a little bug going around the locker room a little bit. So some of the guys, we're treating them, and we're hoping all those guys will be back and helping us on Sunday.
You, speaking specifically to Rob and Hickey, do you think that they'll be available?
Yeah, we expect them to be available.
Does it seem to be like a 24-hour thing?
I don't know that. I just know, when they were presenting symptoms, one is to take care of them to get them healthy. All of them felt like they could come out and practice. We wanted to make sure they were away from the rest of their teammates, so we didn't have something spread like that. So, on both ends, really just kind of being, really cautious about that.
With the consistency on the offensive line, is it easier to say, hey, you guys can stay away just because they played for so long together?
It helps for sure. I think all those other things we mentioned is kind of first and foremost, but it does help that those guys have been a part of what we're doing at this point in the season. So we'll fill them in tomorrow when we get a chance to, and they all have their iPads, so I'm sure they'll be watching the practice as well.
Who else in addition to the two OL?
Let's see. Clowney was sick, but he was back with us, so he was back doing it. And then I can't think of anybody else from an illness standpoint.
How is Xavier Leggett look this week?
He's not practiced. He will not play this week.
But how is he? I guess from a medical perspective, talking to trainers, like how has he progressed on his groin?
We're still kind of checking that. We didn't get him out to push him and run him and do all those things. We really just did the workup, gathered the information that we could, counting this week, really as a true rest week for him to be able to just kind of, take in all the things and then we'll get him on a return to play plan for next week.
Dave asked you last week also about Miles. Is his season over at this point?
Yeah, we're taking it week by week and really just, getting him out on the field, running him early on in the week to kind of assess where he's at right now. And so we'll have to just look at it again next week.
Would you have a sense of percentage of likelihood that he plays again?
I don't have that. I just know we didn't feel confident about him being ready this week, so we'll revisit it again early next week.
So is he to the stage where he is doing some running, you said?
Yes. So he is in his return to play protocol and kind of taking strides.
Dave, just from years of playing against him, what's the most impressive thing you've seen Budda Baker do on a football field?
I think with Budda, it's relentless, just relentless attitude, attack, toughness. He's infectious. He brings his teammates along. You can see him holding guys accountable out there as well. So he's really at the heart and soul, the heartbeat of what they do, and everybody responds to him. I think also he's really smart. He's an intelligent player. It's not a guy that's just running around, randomly. He's got a plan and purpose for what he's doing, and so that mix all those things in. It's what's so impressive about this guy, and really congratulate him on a contract in the Cardinals for being able to do that. His third contract now with the Cardinals, so it speaks a lot to who he is.
How fun is that chess match, though, with a guy that you say is smart but has sort of a penchant for aggressiveness, and maybe you can catch him?
Yeah, it's a challenge. You got to know where he's at, and you got to account for him in the run game and the pass game. And that's all a part of their plan and purpose of what they're doing. And there are some things that we can try to take advantage of, but first things first. Let's get the play started the right way, and try to gather as much information as we can.
Has the illness gone through the coaching staff at all?
It has not, thankfully. Have you got any wood to knock on around
Step
here?
back.
You run around them,
Dave, very pretty cold forecast for Sunday. I mean, not crazy, but anything about December football you've learned over the years in Seattle or elsewhere?
I have good feelings about December football because of just what it has meant, and it's the finish mode. It's all the guys coming together. Feels like football, and when it gets cold, when it gets tougher, all those things kind of add, and you can just think of years and years, of special games played. So, it's a good challenge in sorts, but it does. I think it does something to the players too, where they can feel that, it's finish time.
Not to give away all of your scheme plans, but what's the plan in replacing the inside linebacker spot, considering the injuries there?
A couple of guys we're counting on. We have Kobe Windman. We got John Radigan, getting ready to play Josie, obviously. And so those guys got the reps, and we're banking on and hoping that they'll be able to go in there and we'll be able to play our football.
How critical back on December football is run game, and you mentioned having to get away from that last week?
It's huge. Yeah, that's a great question, Joe. And that's why I've just really believed in the run game. And even when it's beautiful out in September, it's just like we are going to run the ball because we need to find an identity of what we can do well, so that when you play late into seasons and you have a chance to play for the division, when you have a chance to play in the playoffs, it's so critical that you're able to run the ball, because the deeper that you get into the season, the teams with great pass rushers are the ones that emerge. So you have to be able to be balanced to kind of offset that a little bit. You know, you mentioned last week, you know, it's taking care of the ball. Why it's so important, so that we can play on schedule, stick with the run game. So that investment of it is something I truly believe in from a, you know, fundamental, you know, standpoint.
How have you seen
do a
Bryce
couple more.
Bounce back from 4 turnover game? Any kind of residual effects from that, or are you back to business, or what?
I mean, this was a career high. You know, I think for Bryce, watching him in game was what was so impressive. To see him just continue to stay in there, to have his footwork exactly where he needed to be, to throw to number 1 in progression and really still see the field. You know, I could not go past Monday without letting him know that. You know, I've been around football for, you know, 15 years, and to see where games like that can really pile up on a guy, and to watch him handle it, you know, and to be composed and to talk with his teammates and keep working through the issues, I thought was so impressive. And I wanted to make sure he knew that, that was great. And that's exactly what it looks like to play quarterback. You just keep going, you just take the next step in the next drive.